Environmental education is not child's play, but sometimes we can approach climate issues in a way that appeals to people of every age. That's really important as we look to the future. Hello and welcome to a new edition of Eco Africa. I am Chris Alems in Lagos, Nigeria.
And I am Sandra Kahomza Twinobio, co-hosting from Kampala, right here in Uganda. And this week, we have another round of exciting reports about conservation and sustainability. Here is what we have coming up. Joining forces to safeguard wetlands in Guinea. Making olive production more resilient in Tunisia. And a farmer using photography to raise awareness in Kenya. The Gambia has a fairly short coastline, and communities there face the threat of overfishing. Now, a recent report by Amnesty International revealed that it is one of the 6 African countries that together lose at least 2.1 billion euros every single year due to illegal or unregulated fishing. At the same time, local fish meal factories are having a detrimental impact on marine ecosystems and the people who depend on them. We met some local activists.
The coastal town of Sanyang has a problem. Every day, fishers unload almost their entire catch here to be taken by truck to a nearby factory where it's turned into fish meal. It's been like this for 6 years, and both people and nature are suffering the consequences here in southwestern Gambia. That's something environmentalist Mohamed Jabang and his fellow activists are determined to change. Ever since the factory was built, they've been calling for a more sustainable use of their region's resources.
The marine economy or the blue economy is very important for our survival here as a community in Sanyang. Because, we solely depend on fish.
Overfishing by large trawlers is creating havoc all along the coast of West Africa. 90% of these vessels are foreign-owned. Gambia is among the countries affected. For a few years now, some of these trawlers have been delivering their catch to Sanyang's fish meal factory. The fish meal is exported to China. It takes 4.5 kg of fish to produce 1 kg of fish meal. In order to work efficiently, the factory needs 500 tons of fish every day, and only large trawlers can deliver such quantities. That leaves local fishermen with even less to catch. Currently, we can't fish a lot in the sea because of the presence of the big boats from Senegal, posing significant challenges for us. We urgently appeal to the government to intervene. They are depleting the fish population, and if this trend persists, there will be no fish left in the Gambian waters within the next 2 to 3 years. The fish meal factory pays the local fishers the equivalent of €6 a crate, which is a decent local price and guarantees them a dependable business. But it leaves little over to sell as food at the local market.
Overfishing is a problem here in China. So many fish been caught and very few at the market because the way they are fishing is not sustainable. Because whatever we are doing as a country in the Gambia, we need to first check the sustainability aspect of it. Because yes, fishes have been produced in the sea, but with the way that they have been caught, it's not sustainable. It's really affecting the people in Sanya.
And there is not just that. The chimneys have been pumping out smoke day in, day out for the last 6 years. Air quality has dropped, and the smell is overpowering.
The more factories start to go.
The nauseous stench emanating from the chemicals severely pollutes the air, to the extent that residents must retreat indoors even just to enjoy a simple meal in order to escape the pollution discharged by the factory. The factory isn't just polluting the air, it is pumping its water waste directly into the sea, and that's having an impact on the fish. Mohamed Jabang and his association have been protesting against the pollution since it first became apparent. They were arrested. But at least the factory was forced by the National Environment Agency to bury the overflow pipe under the sand. The environmental activists are now trying to bring about change via dialogue. But neither the fishing community, the factory operators, nor the government officials were prepared to talk to DW about it. The fish meal factory may provide a reliable income for fishers, but it encourages them to overfish. Mohammed Jabang is trying to get them to use more sustainable methods to protect nearshore fish stocks. Some fishers have listened and no longer fish in spawning grounds and throw young fish back into the water.
Among the key pillars of our existence is from every activity or before any activity, we call on each other and our fellow youths and other individuals within the community so that we can have a dialogue.
As well as raising awareness, the activists go to the beach once a month, together with volunteers to collect plastic waste. They know that such efforts are just small steps, but they help to keep them going.
We now travel along the Atlantic coast from the Gambia to northern Guinea and from overfishing to endangered wetlands. These precious ecosystems need to be properly looked after.
Yes, Sandra, and not just because they are habitat to so many species, but also because they are vital to humans too. We'll visit an archipelago to see how conservation efforts are helping to save nature, while also protecting the interest of local communities.
Good luck. Off you go. Run fast.
This young turtle has made it, as have many of its siblings, here on the Tristão Islands. Local eco-guards have kept the eggs safe from poachers and are now shielding the baby turtles from birds as they flipper their way across the beach. Protecting the nesting areas is a community effort.
We have our eco-guards who keep watch morning and evening. They're from the village themselves. Just by their very presence, by educating their families, they're our weapons. Nobody touches anything.
The local eco-guards have been working with an armed conservation corps linked to Guinea's Environment Ministry since 2013. That's when the Tristão Islands were granted the status of Marine Protected Area. The arrangement was the culmination of a 7-year process that combined the islanders' knowledge and experience with input from scientific and governmental bodies. One of the chief organisers explained the approach.
We set up a consultation framework where people were free to express themselves, often in their own Alu or Susu language, to express what they wanted. We then transformed the result of this consultation framework into a management plan. This is how the management committee, for example, came into being, with its local branches.
The Tristão Islands are a mixture of mangroves, mudflats, forests and sandbanks facing the Atlantic Ocean. These largely undisturbed ecosystems are a jewel of biodiversity, but rising sea levels are putting pressure on the local communities. In 2023, seawater flooded 1/5 of the rice fields there. Some 20 families formed a management committee to work together and build dikes to protect their fields. The initiative is part of an intelligent conservation approach that aims to reduce human impact in biodiversity hotspots. Traditionally, rice farmers such as Abdoulaye Kachek would move to more fertile land every few years, and that meant cutting down mangrove forests. Once they became aware of the damage that caused, they decided to stay put.
There was a mangrove restoration project. We realized it made no sense to plant mangroves in one place and just cut them down somewhere else. So we keep the fertile fields we have and don't go clearing elsewhere.
The mangrove trees on Tristão are vital for biodiversity and reducing coastal erosion. The local eco-guards and the Conservation Corps carry out regular patrols. On this tour, the Conservation Corps officer spots that trees have been felled.
Hey,
come here. Why has this wood been cut?
Locals may fell some trees for their own use, but only if the request is approved at a higher level. The local eco-guard explains to the officer why this cutting was agreed on.
The wood was cut to make a road to the last village. We had nothing to make the road, and there's a river in the middle. So we cut the wood to make planks for the bridge. We didn't want to cut it. But a meeting of the people approved the decision because we had no other means.
Other rules are harder to enforce. The nature reserve extends into the ocean, and the joint patrols carry out unannounced checks on returning fishermen in case they've caught any protected species. Under the watchful gaze of the eco-guards, the crew unloads its catch. These rays are critically endangered. A tense discussion follows as the fishermen explain themselves and the Conservation Corps officer lays out the law.
If the fish are not dead, we tell them to release them back into the sea. If they are already dead, we ask them why they caught them and explain why they shouldn't go out and catch them another day on purpose.
This time, the fishermen get away with a warning. Eventually, this community-based conservation effort aims to win over everyone on the Tristan Islands.
Let's head to Tunisia now, where the situation for the olive farmers is getting tougher. It has been so dry that it has had a severe impact on the harvest, as drought could become an even bigger problem in the future. It's important to find ways to adapt.
Raouf Elouz has grown olive trees for over 30 years. But over the past decade, Tunisia has experienced severe drought. There's been less rainfall and at irregular intervals, and that's impacted harvests. Several years ago, he also began growing Greek and Spanish olive trees on his 250 hectares. These have higher yields and, in his experience, are more resilient than the two Tunisian varieties he's always cultivated.
With the Spanish trees, I've noticed improvements in oil production. I'm harvesting a higher quality oil than I did from the local chumlali tree. And secondly, the fruit can cope with drought better. I have more olives that stay green. They don't dry out so fast.
Many other large-scale farms here have also shifted to Spanish olive varieties, but there have still been crop shortfalls. In the last 5 years, Tunisia has suffered from extreme weather conditions. The Sfax region in the east of the country has traditionally had the country's highest olive oil production. But yields have dropped here too. Raouf Elouz says it's a struggle.
Economically, it's a disaster, because in recent years, production costs have increased 5-fold, then 6-fold, and then 7-fold. If it were only the cost of gas and diesel for the tractors, everything here runs on diesel, the prices would have doubled. But labor costs have also risen dramatically because the drought means more and more people are leaving the region and looking for work in the city.
The lower yields and higher costs are not only a problem for farmers. Oil producers are also feeling the impact. Of the Sfax region's 348 oil mills, only 70 are currently up and running because there are simply not enough olives to process.
Production in Sfax has halved. This is mainly due to the drought and the lack of rain. That's why the price of olive oil has gone up so much. And the quality is affected too. The olives are drier, they have too little water content, and that makes them more acidic.
Olive growers in Greece, Portugal and Spain are also affected by drought. Olive oil prices have exploded here too. Farmers in Andalusia in southern Spain now have a harvest period of just 14 to 30 days rather than the usual 100. A third of farmers here already irrigate their olive trees, but water supplies are limited.
There is no water. The area around the Guadalquivir River, the most important waterway in Andalusia, is already being overused. There is no way of issuing new licenses for irrigation.
Water is also in short supply in Tunisia. Only a small number of olive groves here are irrigated. In the dry season, Raouf Elouz has to water all his trees, but many farmers can't afford the extra drinking water. Now there could be a solution. Some farmers and tree nurseries are using reclaimed wastewater to irrigate their crops. They buy it from the local authority once it's been purified. Farmers pay around half of what they would for drinking water. Researchers at the University of Sfax have investigated the efficiency of irrigating with reclaimed wastewater, which is usually expensive to dispose of.
Our research, which has been published in international journals, shows that this water can enrich the soil with organic matter and so also boost production.
That could be a boon for farmers. Many need high-quality soil and more water than they did a few years ago. In order to increase their olive yields, farmers like Raouf Eluz have planted more trees per plot, and these now compete for ever scarcer levels of water. Organic farmers are faring better. They've retained the space between their trees. Organic olive grower Nadia Boubaké still enjoys good harvests. Her groves are in the northeast of the country, in Manouba, a region that's not quite as dry as Sfax. She covers the soil around her trees with straw to keep moisture in. And she also only grows olive tree varieties that are native to the region.
We will always support our different native varieties with all their peculiarities. And these varieties have been growing and thriving here for centuries. They've had time to adapt to the different conditions of this microclimate.
Her strategy has paid off. In 2022, Nadia Boubaké was awarded the prize for the best female olive oil producer, and her olive oil was named the best in Tunisia.
It's fair to say that no one enjoys being in hospital. It's often a stressful environment. We are there to be looked after and to recover from illness or injury, but we are likely to feel upset and anxious, and that can slow down our return to health.
So what can be done to increase patient well-being? Well, one hospital in northern Ghana is making the most of the healing power of nature. That is our Doing Your Bit this week.
These ducks are part of an unconventional therapeutic program at the Eco Hospital in Wa, northwestern Ghana. The patients here get professional medical attention too, of course. Their blood pressure is measured and ointment is applied when necessary. But in the Eco Hospital, that's only half of the road to recovery.
It's time for our nature tour.
Eugene Bamuna suffers from high blood pressure and knee problems, but he's going outdoors anyway as part of his treatment. Accompanied by human healthcare workers, of course, Eugene is going to feed the non-human staff.
Just like I was feeding them, I was very happy, and the way they were behaving, you see. So it takes you a diversion, it diverts your mind from the sickness for some time at least.
And the garden of the Eco Hospital is environmentally friendly too. No chemicals are used. Organic corn, lettuce and wild cabbage are a healthy addition to hospital meals. Eugene Bamuna benefits from being in these surroundings and helping with the harvest.
We do not claim that the environment will completely provide healing, but we are certain that the patients recovering in environments like this, watching their facial expression of happiness, engaging nature and all these things contribute in a way towards the general well-being of the people who receive services within this environment.
These catfish are also part of the nature tour. They'll soon be ending up on the patients' plates, or will be sold to help fund the Eco Hospital. These cute rabbits, on the other hand, are just there for the feel-good factor. And at the end of the tour, it's time for refreshments. And what could be better than the watermelon that Eugene Bamuna just picked himself?
Many people don't realize that the trade in exotic animals threatens the biodiversity in the places where those animals come from. But one man from the Samburu community in Kenya is challenging poaching and other threats to wildlife.
Exactly, Chris. He is a livestock farmer but has a talent for photography, and he wants to use his pictures to raise awareness and to highlight the beauty of his native region. He is our eco-hero this week.
Ambrose Letolwai is a man of many talents. He knows exactly what his goats need. And the 30-year-old Kenyan is also a talented photographer. He says he began taking pictures to help him better understand his environment.
So the one thing that really put me into wildlife photography is about bird watching. So I always wanted to take a photo of a bird so that I can be able to identify them.
This is the Naibunga Conservancy in central Kenya. Ambrose Letolwai works here after studying wildlife management and conservation at college. By taking photos of the many animals that live here, Ambrose hopes he can raise awareness of species that are vulnerable or even endangered. Many locals have seen his pictures, and he often visits schools to talk to young people about their environment.
Wildlife conservation, mostly like elephant as well as giraffe and the other wildlife, they are threatened. And the only thing that you can be able to use is photography. And just to tell how magnificent they are and how threatened they are. And if you want to share the story, you need to have a photo or a film.
Ambrose portrays animals such as the African leopard that are at risk from poaching and loss of habitat. He's even found 10 rare black leopards. For the Maasai photographer, the biggest threat to the big cats is climate change.
So many plant species are disappearing here just because of climate change. There is no rains in this area. We face a very devastating kind of drought, and the other herbivores are dying. So when an herbivore dies, then the leopard end up as well dying.
Another threat is that locals have often killed leopards because they threaten livestock, which is the livelihood of many people here. Ambrose is building understanding at community level. These women used to see leopards as enemies. Now they work to protect them, as leopards attract tourists, and that means jobs. They call themselves Chui Mamas, or leopard mamas.
We have come to understand the conservation and the importance of it, because now the formation of Chui Mama has bear a lot of fruits.
Such as new sources of income. The Women's Collective makes jewelry and soap and has now even built their own center with the proceeds. This Wildlife Kids Resource Center in the middle of the savannah was co-founded by Ambrose Letolwai. Equipped with reading material and binoculars, these kids are on a safari. Today, they're bird spotting, and the trip is proving inspirational.
Now I want to educate people of their importance and convince them to stop poaching.
The children are also aware of the financial benefits of conservation.
I would like to protect these animals because they help the country. Safari tourism brings us money. People come to see the animals, and that generates revenue. So it helps improve people's standard of living.
In Guinea, and improve people's living standards.
Ambrose Letolwai says he's optimistic about the future because he sees that young people are becoming more environmentally aware.
There is a huge change. There is a huge change because a kid can be able to learn, to say that I'm coming to this center to learn about wildlife, to watch about film, to take a photo about this particular bird, and they learn it. They even know now some names, species of some plants that you found in this particular area, and they know the use. So that is something that makes me happy.
The local elephant population remains a concern. In 2019, 400 of them were counted in the nearby Loisaba Conservancy. Ambrose Letolwai hopes that his work can help ensure a safe future for them.
a wildlife activist with a new perspective on conservation who is providing inspiration to the younger generation. I am Sandra Kahumza Twinobio, signing off from Kampala, right here in Uganda.
And I am Chris Alems in Nigeria. Thanks for joining us. And do check out Eco Africa online for more enlightening stories. And feel free to share any ideas you have. See you all again next week.